Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Could this be your Celtic management dream team for the 26-27 season? Speculation's rife after Scott Brown and Johnny Hayes. Johnny Hayes, who is the B team assistant manager, were over at Robbie Keane's team, part of their SFA training. And it has been said that, I'll just say good evening to everyone in the chat, first of all. Good evening to everyone in the chat. It has been said that there is a possibility that this could be the dream team that Celtic are waiting to announce. I've got to say, the last time that Celtic had a dream team at Celtic, we all know that it didn't end too well for that partnership. John Barnes was chased out of Celtic as quick as they landed because he was garbage. Would Robbie Keane, I'm going to open this to everyone in the chat tonight, would Robbie Keane and Scott Brown as a number 2? And would Scott Brown go down to that level of being a number 2 after being number 1 at a couple of clubs? And you've got to say, it hasn't quite worked out for him in football management. Could it be the case that Robbie Keane, who has that little bit of European experience, and it has that Irish connection of being a number 2 after being number 1? And he also has the Irish connection, and it could be the fact that there could be changes in the board that has an even European experience, a bigger Irish connection. Give me a second. Could it be the fact that Robbie Keane, who has been touted as a Celtic manager for quite a while now, would Celtic fans take Robbie Keane? No, Bruni, yes, as assistant, but that's it. Some of the comments coming in. Bruni would be a good assistant. I'm not really impressed by Keane to begin with. Talk about uninspiring. What more do Celtic fans want? You know, we want a manager that can get a team with little money and get them into the later stages of Europe. When you're handed that manager who has done that this season, and when you're handed him on a plate, there seems to be a lot of people that are very negative about it and saying not a chance, don't want him at Celtic. Would he be a yes man to Dermot Desmond? Dermot Desmond holds all the aces here. You know, it could be just pure speculation. There's an interesting one. O'Neill is director of football. Keane, Brown, Hayes, Maloney, youth development. Has been my inkling for a while. We're forgetting about Steve McManus as the B team manager. Johnny Hayes is the assistant manager at the B team currently. You're forgetting about Fozzie. Seems to be doing a lot with Martin O'Neill. Could it be the fact that Mark Fotheringham, I mean, it could be the case that Bruni might just, I mean, will he walk away from the partnership that he's had with his long-term friend? That's the big question. And only Scott Brown will know the answer to that. Only Scott Brown will know if it's worth, with Martin O'Neill taking the punt at Celtic, taking the experience of being number 2. And it could prove Celtic tried to go down this road before when Neil Lennon was manager, and they wanted to bring in Ronnie Dyler. Ronnie Dyler was meant to be... Initially, Ronnie Dyler wasn't meant to be manager. He was meant to be number 2, we're led to believe at the time. And Ronnie Dyler was then appointed number 1 because Neil Lennon left the club. He needed to leave the club anyway. But could it be a good scenario for Celtic to have thinking about it, when we're thinking about longevity, and we all understand that when you bring in a manager, we know that there's a time limit. We know that there's a potential for, if he does well at Celtic, that 2 years down the line, you might get 2 seasons at a manager and that's it. Could bringing in someone like Robbie Keane, who got an unfancied team to the later stages of Europe, and let's face it, that's what Celtic fans are crying out for. That's, whilst we want someone to come in and dominate the league, we're also crying out for someone that can come in and achieve things in Europe, something that's never been done before. Robbie Keane ticks those boxes, whether you like him or not. The fact that he does tick the boxes from a European perspective. I think his team, I'm not sure where his team are sitting in the league just now. I think they might be second, but it would make a bit of sense to bring in Robbie Keane. He could attract good players. And then you've got Scott Brown that has that Celtic captain influence, that knows what it takes to get it over the line, knows the demands of playing for Celtic Football Club. I mean, Robbie Keane could come in and he could be quite blasé about the fact, and it's like, I'm the manager and we'll do it my way and that's it. If excuse me, if Scott Brown was to be the number 2, it would give you someone with huge experience, respected within, could it be the fact, the game, respected within Celtic Football Club, liked by the hierarchy. And this is where I could actually see this one actually playing out, because this board are fighting for their survival. This board are fighting to prove that they can do the job correctly. This board want to appease the fans as much as possible. So to appease the fans as much as possible, they bring around wholesale change at the club. And that wholesale change could be bringing in the likes of Robbie Keane as manager, could be bringing in Scott Brown as number 2, with the potential of being a man that you could hand over the reins to as manager in a few years' time. Not that he needs to learn management. I think he's doing some will say he's doing a bad enough job of that himself. But I wouldn't put it past this board. Do you know what? I wouldn't put it past the board at all to go down this road. The fact that Johnny Hayes is back at the club with the B team. Scott Brown knows Johnny Hayes well from his time. They were very, they're good mates from their time at Celtic. Robbie Keane, Scott Brown knows Robbie Keane from his time at Celtic. It gives you that feeling that it's something that the board would do to try and unite the fan base. And could that be the big announcement that comes out straight after the season has ended? I don't think that we're going to get any announcement. It could be just pie in the sky. I mean, there are some media sources talking about it. There's meant to be people talking about it in his in the country that he's currently playing football at, management at. But it's an interesting scenario, isn't it? I just say, no worry about it, Scotty boy. Don't worry about it at all. It does make you think. Keane could attract good players. Scotty boy saying great evening to Stephen Johnson. Do you think that Keane would just turn out another Desmond's yes man and take the Motherwell guy and a few players from them? I think that the one thing that would stop Celtic bringing in Jens from Motherwell is a fear factor. A fear factor of the manager coming in, doing well and walking out in 2 years' time. Martin O'Neill said it before he left,
before Wilfred Nancy was appointed. Martin O'Neill said in one of his interviews that Celtic are looking for someone that can take Celtic forward over the next 3 or 4 years. I need to dig out that interview. That was one of the things that Martin O'Neill spoke about, because Martin O'Neill was asked his first time round as temporary manager, would you like the job on a permanent basis? And that was his reply. I think Celtic are looking for someone that can take the club over the next 3 or 4 years. That would go in line with the fact that Scott Brown, Johnny Hayes were doing SFA training over with Robbie Keane. You're not telling me that, I mean, we know the story with Callum McGregor being sent over, well, people say that he was sent over to Palma, Mallorca. There's every chance that I think he was already in Palma, Mallorca, because it is a place that a lot of people go. There's places you can go in Mallorca that are kind of off the beaten track. Nowhere near Santa Ponza, but still 5-star resorts. And, you've not got the prying eyes looking over you. It wouldn't surprise me if Celtic, Johnny Hayes, and Scott Brown had a little. They must have spoke about it. Do you know, if the question, if Celtic are doing, put it this way, if Celtic are doing their job correctly, and if the hierarchy are forward planning, which we assume they are, and if they are all incumbent in getting the right person, what a better time to get someone who's currently on the books at Celtic, Johnny Hayes, with a potential number 2, Scott Brown, to talk to the next potential manager about what they see as the future of the club. Now, you've got 3 people that really get the club. Johnny Hayes gets the club. Johnny Hayes was brilliant at his time at Celtic. Absolutely fantastic. One of the goals that he scored against Aberdeen, away at Aberdeen, was absolutely phenomenal. Him at Hampden as well, brilliant. He loved the club. Totally got the club. Loved being at Celtic. Having 3 people now, you will get a lot of people saying, we need to get away with this Celtic love fest. We need to get away from Celtic-minded managers. We need to go down the Ange Postecoglou route again. Like I said, the only downside of that is the fact that if you're looking for people to take the club forward over this very important time, you've had Martin O'Neill talking in the media over the last couple of days about the importance of bringing academy players through. Scott Brown came through the academy in Hibs, went on to do a fantastic thing at Hibs, and he understands how important it is for youth development. Johnny Hayes is in the B team at Celtic. It just seems, I mean, it could be wide of the mark. It could be, but sometimes with Celtic, the most obvious thing that the board are going to do is staring you right in the face. And this could be one of those scenarios that it's been staring us in the face all along. The speculation that Keane is number 1 candidate has been there for a while. There's not been any talk about who his number 2 might be, who his backroom staff may be. I definitely don't think that Sean Maloney is going to be in the equation. Maloney will go back to his backroom staff, and if Maloney's true to his word, he'll leave the club after next season anyway, or it'll be next season, because that'll be about a year that he's been at the club after Darren Adair left the club to go down to Swansea as assistant manager, and that didn't work out for him. So it's something to think about. Keane's also beaten Rangers. He has that. Need a manager who can get the board to spend some money, says John. Well, going by speculation, John, Celtic are still in the hunt for a player. Let's got it down on the news bit there. Celtic are a player that they scouted back in December. Plays in the Italian second league. Issa Dumbai, but he's also been scouted by Club Brugge, Espanyol, and Southampton. The Italy under-21 star was scouted by Celtic in December. Southampton had an offer of €6 million for the player, turned down last summer. And reports out of Italy suggest that Celtic and other clubs have the attention, as well as some Serie A teams. But the valuation may be too excessive for Celtic at €15 million now. But with that being said, the fact that I think there could be one of two things happen this summer. Celtic bring in, if Celtic are going to have to bring in a manager that they know, like, and trust that they can get the best value for money. When you look at especially when it comes to the Robbie Keane thing, Dermot Desmond, I think he will be a bit peeved off having trusted certain members of the board, a certain member of the Celtic staff who got his jotters after appointing Wilfred Nancy. The fact that Dermot Desmond knows Keane, and it's a story that's not went away. The speculation has went away. The speculation with some of the other people that were linked with Celtic has kind of faded a bit over the last couple of weeks. So it does make you think. There is no smoke without fire. Let's just say that. And it's not so much that it was a secret meeting. We all know the reason that Scott Brown and that was over with Robbie Keane at his camp. But it does. Is it just media sources adding arms and legs to it? We'll wait and see, as the summer will tell us all, as I am sure. Celtic have been pretty quiet today on social media. All that Celtic have put out today was Daizen Maeda shines as star man in this week's Team of the Week. Daizen Maeda's got Team of the Week. It's always a great thing for the player. They don't give a shit about it, to be honest. And then they haven't put anything out since yesterday. So, and then they spoke about retweeted the Celtic Foundation. It's time to join us on the 6th of June for our Ben Nevis hike. Secure your spot for an unforgettable challenge, the Ben Nevis Huddle, which will take place on Saturday, the 6th of June 2026. And that is a fantastic event also. I take it the Celtic Foundation have stopped going abroad to likes of Kenya and stuff during the summer. Is that kind of faded out from, are they doing that many top dinners down in London now that they don't need to send fans over to Kenya to raise money? Interesting. Let's see. The manager, we've done that one from John. Do you think that Keane would turn out like another Desmond yes man? That's a matter of opinion, but I think he would be a yes man to a certain extent. Anyone that comes to Celtic is going to be a Dermot Desmond yes man. And let's face it, you're not bringing in an Alex Ferguson that's going to argue with the board. There's no one there. Even Martin O'Neill, for all that Martin O'Neill achieved in his early days 25 years ago, turned out to be a yes man for Dermot Desmond. And Dermot Desmond told him, well, Peter Lawwell said, no, you're not getting any more money, and that was kind of the end of it. There will be a plan for Maloney in some capacity if it's not his first team. Yeah, he'll go back to the pathway manager's job. He's already said that, so I'm kind of taking him by his word on that. Because you don't go on video in a video interview and say, I'm going to go back to the pathway manager's job, and then something else comes up. But you never know. It's Celtic. I hope your instincts are right, but mine says nope. A couple of folks saying hello to each other. Has Keane or O'Neill? Has to be Keane or O'Neill. Don't want an international manager or someone who has won FA goal. That means you won't take the Motherwell manager then. What happens if it's Keane and he wins the treble next season and he do a Rodgers, he's down south? He's a big name, especially in England, but want someone to come with us and stay. Hence the reason that I think that the dream team scenario, I think that if Keane was to come to Celtic, it would be on a promise that I'll do a minimum of 2 years. A bit like the Sean Maloney scenario. And then Celtic go, okay, if you're going to do 2 years, you're bringing in Scott Brown as your assistant, and then Scott Brown will be manager after you, which gives you that Joseph Venglos very well versed saying of continuity. Joe Venglos used to love saying that about Celtic. Let's go on the table now. We'll put it down a bit. There we go, that's better. Table was too high up. So yeah, that would be my thinking. It covers Celtic's back. That's the only reason that I think, and it's only speculation, but it would be fantastic if it did happen. But I still think that Scott is too close to Whittaker to let that would he let that friendship slip, or would he say to Whittaker, "Look, we've given it our best shot as a team. I've got this opportunity to go to Celtic. I'm going to take it." Knowing that Whittaker won't come to Celtic because he played for Hibs and Rangers. You never know. This is all well and good, Baz, but you need players. The players board, I don't know how to get the players. Yeah, they don't know how to get the players. Can't see it myself. There's too many what ifs for me. I think it'll be Celtic man next manager for sure. We've got Nancy Ball, so who knows? It has to be a manager the board respects enough to invest. Well, for me, that they too kind of they tick all the boxes. Don't know if you're wanting to try and build something at Celtic. I mean, Johnny Hayes as B team assistant manager. That's a way above Johnny Hayes. Johnny Hayes could be an assistant coach or a first team coach anywhere he wanted. But he's back at Celtic. Do you know? Bringing in Robbie Keane and giving him Jordan Larson as first signing. That'd make the board's merchandise money back in a fortnight. The board aren't daft either. That's true. That duo wouldn't surprise me, says Helen. I do enjoy your podcast at most times, but we're on the same wavelengths. But this dream team you're talking about would be a nightmare, says Martin. And it's not my dream team. Do you know? It's just wording of two gentlemen who would be brought together as a. You could understand why Celtic would maybe consider it. Would it be a nightmare? You never know. You never know because, do you know, sometimes I just think that it's either going to be that blatantly obvious what happens, and when it's announced, it'll be, wow, I never saw that coming. Or it's going to be, well, that's a Dermot. It's got Dermot Desmond written all over it. And you've got to look back the history of the last 25 years when moments like this have happened previously. Martin O'Neill coming into the club, Dermot Desmond written all over it. It was his hands, his phone calls, don't know, back then. When Gordon Strachan came into the club, it was well known that Gordon Strachan was going to take over from Martin O'Neill. It was known a year in advance. There was talk the year before Gordon Strachan took over that Gordon Strachan was going to take over that summer. It never happened. That was all Dermot Desmond's doing. And then you let the board kind of have their way when they bring in an ex-Celtic captain who started the huddle. That one was on the board. And they made the mistake. And it didn't work out. And luckily enough, we had Neil Lennon in the house that took over. And that turned out to be a success. But then when the board were then given a chance to make another appointment as manager, they brought in Ronnie Dyler. And then Ronnie Dyler anybody could have won the league at that time, let's be honest. But Ronnie Dyler wasn't loved by a big chunk of Celtic supporters. You know, there was a big area of Celtic Park that was unsold in the top tier. The board knew that. You know, Ronnie wasn't daft. Ronnie had a great repertoire with the away fan base. Fantastic with the away fan base at Celtic. but he couldn't do it in Europe. And Ronnie knew that, do you know what, I'm going to leave before I'm pushed. And that was admirable by Ronnie Dyler. Do you know, coming out and telling the board, look, I'm going to leave at the end of the season. It's not working out the way that Celtic fans want it, or the club want it to work out. You know, in a European context, it's just not there. So then, after the board made that decision, and it didn't get the results that we wanted when in the European context, Dermot Desmond steps in again and brings in Brendan Rodgers. So you look at the peaks and trough of Celtic management, and the fact that the board get to have their little run of playing being important, but the big decisions and the big years and the big moments always come back to Dermot. After the whole 9 in a row thing didn't work out, the board were then left to try and bring in a manager again. And for a 6-month period, they chased Eddie Howe. And that didn't work out. And Dermot managed to close the deal for Ange Postecoglou within 48 hours. Do you know, and you're thinking, surely Dermot Desmond, he must have spoke to Eddie Howe. Wasn't what he said to Eddie Howe convincing enough? We all know the story that Eddie Howe wanted to bring his own backroom staff, and that's why it didn't work out. But it's I'm going to make a decision from Dermot Desmond. And this isn't bumming up Dermot Desmond. This is showing the inability of the current board and the board members, and that they systematically get it wrong time and time again. And the man that's got to pull them out of the fire and get things on the go again is Dermot Desmond. What if we all know, what if this time again, Dermot Desmond's went, no, he's my man, I'm waiting on him. Just do it. You never know. You never know. If not, it will be someone that we are not even thinking about. And will that person stay at the club for 4 years? That's the big thing that we're all waiting for. If it's anything like the previous seasons, we're going to be kept in the dark right up until the appointment, whoever that is, that comes in to manage the club. Brendan Rodgers was linked for a couple of weeks before the announcement. There was talk when he first came to Celtic the first time round. The Brendan Rodgers chat was there, and everybody was like, he's not going to come to Celtic. He was Liverpool manager, for goodness sake. He almost won the league with Liverpool. It's there's no way is he going to step down to the Celtic job. But you never know. You never know. I think that Celtic will have to make the decision. I mean, we're a couple of days out from May. I would be expecting the Celtic manager announcement before the end of May, before the deadline for season tickets. Also, I think we all can. It's Robbie Keane. It won't be Bruni's number 2. Maloney and a certain Irishman who left will come back as joint coaches. Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if this could be the next manager's team. Keane, Bruni, Damien Duff and Fozzie. I don't think it'll be Damien Duff. I think that he left Celtic and moved on. I don't think it'll be him. The Spaniard has just bought a house in Scotland, so who knows, says Kev. Martinez. Keane wouldn't want to damage his reputation with a poor side. He will come to win. His end goal is Premier League. We don't. Why do we have to be so obvious and boring all the time? And what we do, and we need to look to the future, not back now. And I want Kyogo back. That's enough said about that. The better. If we win the league, it'll be Martinez. If we win second or third, it'll be Ask You. We'll wait and see. If it's Keane, it's Dermot Desmond's man. He won't just fake off easily. Not a chance. These two are the next management team, says Nicholas. The Motherwell manager, Celtic job might be too big for him at this stage in his managerial career, says Mr. Tomboy. Was it too big for Neil Lennon at the time of his career? Robbie could bring in some of his current players. I'm not too sure about that. Shows you how low the bar is. If this and the Motherwell manager is the best we can do. Yeah, this is true, isn't it? It's pathetic, says Nicholas. Robbie Keane's won 2 titles and on the verge of a double this season, so he's done his apprenticeship, I'd say. I think that that's what Celtic look at, isn't it? Do you know that you have to have a history of winning things, so you've got that mentality when you come into the club. Does the Motherwell manager have that mentality where he could come in and, you know, he's done well with Motherwell, getting them to the position that they're in within the league. But can he come in and Keane won a league, any dumpling wins? Some will say that about Celtic. Yeah. What's the big secret in keeping us in the dark until the end of the season? Bournemouth manager said to be leaving at the end of the season, and the following week the announcement was made to start in June. It's just the way that Celtic do business, isn't it? Doesn't matter who we want, we have to take who we get. Yeah, I think so. Agree, I think Keane would be a good job. If the board give the new manager cash to spend, great, Keane. No idea about him as manager. The Spaniard has a better CV. Talking about Martinez. If Spurs get relegated, Keane will be there as manager. Would he? Why would he want to go? If you've got 2 positions and if Spurs get relegated, why would you want to go and manage Spurs at a lower division when you can come to Celtic and you could try and build a team that can do something in Europe? I can't see him taking that kind of backward step. He said he's not adverse to leaving the club that he's at the current moment to go on to something bigger. Going to Spurs in the lower league isn't something bigger. I don't think that Keane is that crazy. Who would win? So-called Celtic-minded managers have always brought us succeed. We have too many bad season under 30 years. Could still do a double this year. Keep the faith. We could do the double. Keane's team outperformed us in Europe. They did that. I'd take Ask You over Keane. Any update on Callum Osman for the weekend? Nope, there's nothing coming out of Celtic just now. It's nada. Not a thing. Still think it's set for O'Neill to remain. The conditions seem likely, but Keane is the best bet of the current. I don't think. I think that it's wide off the mark, and very unambitious of the club to retain Martin O'Neill as manager for 1 year. Martin O'Neill is too long in the tooth, and he's already said publicly that he wouldn't be here. And I think Martin is a man of his word. When he says he's not going to be here for the next AGM, he will not want to be here for the next AGM. He will, there's no chance of that happening. No chance. A lot of people sent on this. Ball washer's brother. Scouting a player is one thing, but buying is another. If that team is announced until after the season tickets are issued, the next manager will not be announced until after the Scottish Cup final. Won't be Celtic will not make any announcement at all whilst we still have a league to win. Maybe if the conditions were slightly different and we'd won the league like we had done this time last year. It was this weekend, last weekend last year that we had won the league. I think if that was the scenario, Celtic may do it before the end of the season, but generally Celtic will not do it. So it will be interesting. It's going to be a late announcement for season ticket announcement also. If we win the league, I'll be keen. If we don't win the league, it'll be ask you. I'm biting my tongue, says Hoops a Hollop. There's a dodgy Dell just popped up at half time at the Hearts Queen's Park under 18 final. Who's winning in that game? Dexter. Who's winning? Because I know someone who's playing in it. 55. We're just going to jump through these comments. Ask who knows the Scottish football. It would give them the edge for the job. I don't think that comes into it, does it? Don't know anything. What about Frank Lampard? Glad that you're laughing about that one. Yeah, I've got 20 club king size under that bonnet. It's my head, you fucking Rajes. It's 1-0. It's 1-0 to Hearts. Who scored? Where are you getting the live? Is there a live feed for it? Check out the odds. Who was our next manager, Baz? It's changed a lot in the last 3 days. Let me just do this. Sky. 10-3, Jens at Motherwell. 10-3, Robbie Keane at Motherwell. 4-1, Roberto Martinez. 7-1, Thomas Frank. 15-2, Craig Bellamy. That chat's kind of disappeared, that hasn't it? The Craig Bellamy chat. Ange Postecoglou's 14-1. That won't happen. Darren Fletcher 14-1. That won't happen. Stevie Clark 14-1. That won't happen. 16-1. Sean Maloney. That won't happen either. Does put Roberto Martinez in sort of pole position still, doesn't it? But Martin O'Neill 16-1, Kieran McKenna 16-1. That's my favourite for the job, McKenna. Jose Mourinho 21, Scott Brown 22-1, Solskjaer, Coodson 22-1, Damien Duff, Frank Lampard. You know what Celtic are like? It'll probably be none of them. David Gray 28-1, Neil Lennon 28-1, Tony Mowbray 20. Fuck, come on, that's having a laugh. Why is Tony Mowbray? I'm not even looking at it anymore. Apparently, Desmond has a big say in Nancy's appointment. Supporters met him with one of his goals from Johnson to America. We're impressed with his football knowledge. According to what was out there, it was a 45-minute phone call with Wilfred Nancy that led to him getting the job. Not so much a golfing stint, but you never know. Dyson's well up for it. It's great to see. Yes, he is that, and he's also well off at the end of the season. There lies the issue. The real issue, Baz. Everyone that comes in has to be Desmond's yes man. He's part of the rot. Gallus just says the ticket McKenna's out the equation. No, he's still in the equation, but I think he's not going to be expensive. He's going to be too expensive for Celtic, I think. Talking about Jens's knowledge of Scottish football, is that good enough? Just having a knowledge of Scottish... Listen, I don't buy that, because Ange Postecoglou never knew a thing about Scottish football. I don't know why we're getting so interested in a manager that knows Scottish football. Ange never even watched Scottish football and came in and dominated it completely. You know, so if Ipswich don't get to the Premier League, do you think the Ipswich manager will come to Celtic? He was my favourite the first time round, and it wouldn't surprise me if that's maybe one of the scenarios that Celtic are waiting to play out. You know, if they don't get to the English Premier League, could Celtic move in there and get him? He knows how to bring through young players. He's Irish, gives that Irish connection that the Dermot Desmond will love. He's fantastic manager. Note Keane, please. Not good enough. Plus Bruni Defo, never good enough, especially for Celtic. It's funny that people are saying that, because their aspirations are really so average. Yeah, I think that they pretty much are. McKenna popping up as second favourite for a mid-table English Premier League sides next season. I think he's out our reach. Scott, like I said, I don't think that knowledge of the Scottish game needs to come into it. Never came into it with Ange Postecoglou, so we'll wait and see. Scott says, loving that Maeda is back to his best. Alistair Johnson back for the running. How's Osman getting along? Well, hopefully we'll see in a couple of weeks. Feed the Bear says it's now 1-1 with that game. Yeah, but then entered in the Ange. I'm going to go on. Give me 2 seconds, because I want to try and find out who scored for the Young Hearts team. It's on BBC Scotland.
Reception. And here it comes now for Dow, gets it across. Good save from Aitchison, but it's turned.
Oh, he gets an assist. He got an assist. Go on yourself, you man.
Into the net. And here it comes now for Dow, gets it across. Good save.
Gets an assist. Go on yourself. It's my cousin's boy. It's the only reason I'm getting excited about it. He gets an assist at Hampden in the cup final. Fair play to him. I'll just see, run into some of these comments. Who in their right mind hands over 700 quid without a manager in place? 54,000 season ticket holders. They've done it before, and they'll do it again. Jens at Motherwell is the best footballing side, tactical side in the league. Can he do it in Europe, though? There's no use bringing a manager in that just does it in Scotland. We've had 25 years of that. We need a manager that can bring in and make a difference in Europe, that can even just try and make a dent in Europe. Kieran, who do you want as manager? I wanted Kieran McKenna back in December and, November, when it was that we were looking for a manager before. I just think that he ticks all the boxes. He's brought on a fantastic youth system at the club he's at, and I think that that's the way that we need to be going down. That's who I would want, but it's never going to happen, I don't think. Because he'll got Sevco and he'll got the bigger budget. I wouldn't be upset at the Motherwell manager if we got him to be the chance. Lampard took a lower league job, and look what he's done. See? How can you sure about Stevie Clark? I hope you're correct. How can I be sure about Stevie Clark? It's not going to be Stevie Clark. Not a chance. Not a chance. Jesus. If you're trying to get Celtic fans not to buy season tickets, you would go out and you would get Stevie Clark. Don't know. I wait and see. Yeah. Just go back to that. BBC Scotland. Is the youth final on Watch Live on BBC Scotland? Who got the second for Hearts? Oh, no way.
Flicked on and then Dow's effort and it squirms in. And Hearts do have a third goal.
He gets an assist. Oh, fucking Jesus, man.
Will surely kill this game and wrap up the Youth Cup for Hearts.
I told you, man, honestly.
Tough moment for Aitchison in the Queen's Park goal.
He's a striker and a half. Oh, man, I'll need to go and...
Third goal.
Throw in for Hearts.
Flicked on and then Dow's effort and it squirms in. And Hearts do have a third goal.
Fair play. There we go. Right, I'm done and dusted for this evening. I'm going to go and get in touch with some family members, considering my cousin's laddie's just scored a goal in a cup final at Hampden. He has an assist, and I know he plays for Hearts. And everybody's got issues, haven't they? But I tell you one thing, he is going to be a striker and a half. Unbelievable. Anyway, that's me done and dusted for this evening. Thank you to everyone who's been on the chat tonight. All about the potential next Celtic manager dream team, or not so dream team. I shall catch you all in the morning. Have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.